Welcome to another chapter of our Planning for Your Marketplace webinar. Today we'll be going over checklists and vendors. Let's get started.
Morning, Chris. How are you today?
Hi, Ron. Doing great.
So let's talk about now the steps for planning a marketplace. And so we've put kind of a miniature checklist, if you will, here together that lists out the main important things that you need to kind of think through, things that you should make decisions about. And I'll go ahead and start. The first one is a checklist, right? Find and build your checklist. At Clarity here, we've manufactured quite a few white papers. We've put together some checklists. I just finished one a couple of weeks ago for an auction marketplace. We've done them for integrated e-commerce marketplaces. And so what you want to do is find a good checklist or put your checklist together. And so some of these items here that we're going to go through, I'm just going to kind of mention it and then explain what it is. And then I'm going to let Chris dive in technically and talk about how that really is affected by and what the technology that you're going to be looking or selecting needs to be able to do in order to handle that. So the first thing on the checklist is about the vendors, right? Because the main thing about most marketplaces is you're allowing vendors and or sellers, whatever you want to call them, sellers and vendors, to come in and list their wares and sell them on your marketplace. So there's a whole bunch of different things about vendors, right, Chris? There's registration and how are you going to handle drop shipping? And we have to split the order. What happens if somebody comes in and places an order in my marketplace for 3 items? All 3 items are with different vendors. Well, there's 3 separate orders that I need to send out from the platform now to all 3 vendors so they can each fulfill their part of the order. And then those vendors have to send the tracking status back so the person can track all 3 separate orders, right? There's commissions. Do they do their own commission? How do we integrate? Is it all just EDI? Is there API? There's a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you now so you can kind of dive in a little bit more to the vendor and seller portion of the marketplace.
Well, thanks. And I think that was a great overview because this is really detailed depending on your business workflow. And each of the different businesses that we work with, they tend to cater to different aspects of this marketplace opportunity and marketplace offering. Some of our clients leverage buying group or group purchasing type of scenario. And in that state, it makes a lot of sense to be able to have complex workflows that can handle and make it self-service for the user. A situation where they may be purchasing as a group purchase and dealing with things like containers and really understanding the nuances of the, sort of the lead time on drop shipping, et cetera. The other thing is, as a general marketplace use, one of the big things that we see is whenever a vendor is registering, we're going to need them to potentially provide some form of verification of their company as a sort of edification within the marketplace. Now, we've done some pretty interesting things here on, and this can be a much more simple version to get users into the marketplace, and that's typically going to be the trend. But if you sort of go on the spectrum to the more complicated scenarios, we've done those too. And that can include things like doing a background check that's automated and fully integrated. It can include having a legally enforceable document that they have to sign because they're asserting and attesting to certain things. And they have to actually sign it, and then we can verify that signature in an automatic fashion and through workflows where basically that gets persisted into a CRM or an ERP system. So we have that for legal, accounting, and et cetera. And so now we've done a background check. We've done this attestation and legal requirements, signatures, maybe even other things that we're verifying, like information about their business. Maybe we do a credit check on them. We've done that before. So wherever you are in the spectrum with vendors, and keep in mind, with vendors, they're typically, you want a higher bar for them. And so you just want to understand, what is that process for you? Is it going to be just a few questions and maybe some sort of verification for them? And then you let them in. A lot of times what we see is whenever we're dealing with vendors, we're going to set it up so that they sort of have to behave a certain way or sort of complete certain even gamified steps so that they can then get access to more features. Some level of commitment that they're going to have to make in order to sort of get access to our marketplace so that we can maintain a level of credibility and consistency, I think is the key word here, for our users within the marketplace. And so we want that relatively higher bar for the vendors. Just sort of depends on your industry, right, Ron, that you're in, as to, what that's going to look like.
The level. Yeah, I mean, on a simple level, it might just, hey, they have to agree to the terms of use, right? It might be really simple. But like you said, on some of the bigger ones, you certainly want them to behave a certain way to maintain not only consistency, but the trust that you're trying to establish on your site, which brings those buyers back over and over again.
Thanks for watching an episode of our Marketplace Webinar Chapter Series. Join Chris and Ron on our next video where they will cover features and functionality. See you there.